Hello everyone, I'm Luxin, and if you're a Xenoblade fan, I've got some great news for you, because I'm pretty sure last night, Monolith Soft effectively confirmed that they're going to start pre-production on the next game in the series very shortly. This is, if you've seen the Twitter thread, basically going to be me going into further depth about that, and sort of explaining things a lot better than I can in 280 characters per tweet. If you haven't seen the Twitter thread, basically, I'm the first one to have discovered this. The Monolith Soft tweet about the recruitment post that I'm going to be talking about was released at 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time, and I started the thread at 12:12 a.m. Eastern Time, so anyone who tweeted about this, other than like actual news outlets, because they're expected to be keeping track of this kind of stuff, stole it from me. So you heard it here first. Don't steal other people's tweets. But I guess we could just start talking about it. Basically, Monolith Soft has posted a recruitment page for a brand new RPG project. Now, the interesting thing is, they've done this before. They've opened recruitment for different projects in the past, and that's been, okay, cool, Monolith Soft is recruiting more people. They've been expanding for a very long time now, and they've, I think, most recently hit 178 employees, so they're looking to expand even more. So that's normal, it's a studio that's doing successful things is trying to expand, but what does this mean for Xenoblade? Well, the first thing you're gonna see is, on the tweet, the big thing, the background of the recruitment page and the header of the actual website page is this render of the Mechanis. In the Twitter thread, I erroneously said that it was a new render because I'd never seen this version of it before. It looks beautiful, but it is not in fact a new render. This has appeared in the Monado Secret File archive book for Xenoblade 1. This is just the most high quality version of it we've ever got, and I think I've seen it mirrored before. It isn't mirrored in the archive, so it might have been used in a mirrored state somewhere else, but this is like the best version of this image you're ever gonna get. So the thing is, this page is, it's all in Japanese. You could see that, yeah, there's some screenshots from all the Xenoblade games in the background here, and you could make out Mechanis RPG something, and from the tweet you could say that they're recruiting, but you can actually read this page, and it's kind of interesting. You have to go into the HTML of the website, which is pretty funny, and if you go body, content, main, and then keep opening stuff up, you'll eventually start running into a bunch of Japanese text. Well, the thing is, if you translate the page through Google Chrome, it'll actually Google Translate the text in the HTML too. So you can actually read what this recruitment post is in surprisingly good English for something Google translated. It might have helped because it's separated by lines, so it's smaller sentences. But the first thing you'll notice is you'll see a bunch of phrases like first development team, emergency recruiting, and new RPG project. Well, the thing is, they've recruited for RPG projects before, but they've never used Xenoblade imagery for it. The closest they've ever used was some really old concept art for X that nothing remotely resembling it actually made it into the final game. So they've used that, and they've used completely different concept art. They've also used some concept art for the new IP. They've never used something as closely tied to a finished Xenoblade product that we got, like the Mechanis, and all these screenshots of the other games, and the 3 logos of the 3 Xenoblade games just on the screen, right there. You got the 1, you got the X, and you got the 2. All of them. It also says first development team. Now that's important because Monolith Soft has, I believe, 4 teams now. They're dividing their work up because not only are they getting big enough and getting successful enough to be working on multiple games at once, but they also have a team that's basically dedicated to helping out Nintendo EAD. So I think they have 2 Kyoto and 2 Tokyo teams, but first development team is the team headed by Tetsuya Takahashi, aka the guy who made all the Xeno games, so that's another point in that's favor. From what I can tell, they saw the success of Xenoblade 2. Now that Torna's done, they're getting into the planning phase and are going to go into pre-production for whatever the next game in the Xenoblade series is, but they don't want to be faced with another situation like how 60 people from Monolith Soft ended up working on Breath of the Wild, and a bunch of stuff happened and only 40 were left working on Xenoblade 2, which was the cause of a lot of the quality of life issues in the early life cycle of that game. So basically they're trying to recruit new people so that doesn't happen, and they have a good team going forward for that kind of thing. If you scroll down more, you'll find out that they're looking for programmers, map modelers, and level designers. So those are kind of important things. Programmer is an obvious blanket statement, and then map modeler would be someone who would design actual overworld maps, and, you know, the huge, awesome-looking maps are kind of one of the big selling points of Xenoblade, so that's another thing in that court ball thing. I'm getting my metaphors screwed up. As well as level designers, which would probably be for more actually designing what they look like, whereas the modelers would take that vision and actually put it into the game. Some of these might seem a bit more Englishy than others, but we got a few pretty interesting quotes. The essence of a role-playing game is a map. You can definitely see that philosophy behind Xenoblade. You can make a game, you can make the world. Some of a, like, rousing motivational statement trying to get people to play. And then also we are looking for character designers widely. And under that, it specifically mentions Takahashi's days at Square. And mentioning Tetsuya Nomura by name, as well as the fact that they had to hire him on to do some stuff in Xenoblade 2. So, again, they had to outsource a lot of the character art from Xenoblade 2 to different people, because they just didn't have the manpower at the time. So, it looks like they're trying to remedy that, too. It also lists them looking for other art staff, as well as programmers specialized in certain skills, listing UI design, battle design, and quest design. UI design is obvious, not entirely sure what the last two mean, but I think they are basically designing how boss fights work and how they differ from the rest of the game system and how they meld different mechanics and stuff together. And quest design, I think, is side quests, because for main story they would usually say scenario design. Then, at the bottom of that section, this is one of the coolest things that actually got translated, not particularly Englishy. Last but not least, there is one thing only required for all parts. That is, love for Monolith Soft works. So, they're basically trying to get people that are already fans of Monolith Soft's IPs to come and work on this new game. We know they have a new IP in the works, and they've recruited for that in the past, but this is the first time they were like, hey, if you like Monolith Soft, you should work for Monolith Soft. I'm probably reading too much into this sentence specifically, but that kind of brings to mind the fact that, oh hey, you get to work on one of our IPs, so we're going to take people who like them and we know would treat them well. Additionally, in order to completely prove that this isn't the previously mentioned new IP, you can go to their head recruitment page, which has 5 tabs. There are ones for mid-career, which is, I guess, just someone who's worked, like, who has work experience in the field, and that's the general portal for that. Then they have new graduates, which is basically if you just come out of college. And then there's freelance, which is freelancing, obviously. And then on the bottom, they have 2 tabs for specific projects. The one on the left is the new IP. That one's been there. But the one on the right, hey look, there's that Mechanis thing. That tab is new. That was added when they made this post. So, hey, look at that, it's definitely a new thing. And then, the most important part, if you scroll down far enough in the recruitment page, you will run into the sentence, which Google translates to, "We are looking for development staff of a new RPG project following Xenoblade, Xenoblade Cross, and Xenoblade 2. Now, on Twitter, I actually had people accusing me of faking that because Xenoblade was spelled wrong. If you think that's fake because it's spelled Xenoblade in one instance and Xenoblade twice, you've never Google translated Japanese before. I retweet a lot of Xenoblade fan art, and sometimes it gets Japanese names of characters perfect, and sometimes it butchers them completely. Pyra's Japanese name is Homura. Sometimes it translates it as Homura perfectly. Sometimes it says Hamla. Sometimes it says something even worse. Sometimes it translates Nia as Nia, and sometimes it translates her as Nier. So, this is perfectly fine. Also, the cross is, Xenoblade Cross just is X's Japanese name. That's not a weird translation quirk. That just is a direct translation of the name. So, that's a lot of info. And it doesn't really stop there, because, let's see, we've also got these tweets from Soraya Saga, aka writer on Xenogears Xenosaga, done some character design work before. Also Takahashi's wife. She tweeted out the same link saying, translated, this tweet was in Japanese, launch of new RPG project, And then just, hey, there's the link to the recruitment page. And then she replied in English, this is not translated, she does speak English, Takahashi and his team's busy years have just begun again. This is explicit. This is Takahashi's development team looking for new people to work on a brand new RPG. And hey, look at that, the entire page is full of Xenoblade stuff, and it mentions Xenoblade by name specifically in multiple contexts. So, guess what? This is probably a new Xenoblade project. Now, yes, people have been saying maybe it's actually Baten Kaitos 3, and then they're gonna jump back into Xenoblade after that. I haven't played the last 2 games in the series yet, but I would be okay with that. I just completely disagree with people thinking that's what it is. There's too much Xenoblade on this page, and this is the first time they've, like, explicitly talked about specific projects in the past when recruiting for a new one, and it's mentioning Xenoblade, so this is almost certainly Xenoblade. So with that out of the way, we're gonna address a couple things. The first thing is, people's gut reaction to this was, it's Xenoblade HD, they're remaking it, or remastering it, or porting it to the Switch. I don't know where that comes from, and that is super wrong. Now yes, some people saw my tweet and were like, hey, new Mechanis render, that's gotta be art for the new Xenoblade remake. The thing is, it's not a new Mechanis render, and it's only the header for the page. The rest of the page talks about the Xenoblade series as a thing in bulk, and I'm pretty sure it references 2 on its own, apart from the others more than the rest because of the Tetsuya Nomura thing. Also, if you look at the background of the page, you'll see screenshots from 1, X, and 2. It's talking about all 3 games. So, people are saying that this means it's Xenoblade HD. Also, in addition to that, why would the primary development team of Monolith be recruiting new people for a port or a remaster? First off, Monolith wouldn't even be the people working on that port or remaster in the first place. Nintendo already has studios that are specifically designed for porting things. Also, why would you need to hire new character designers and new level designers for a port or a remake of a game that already has character designs and already has level designs, and Shulk and Fiora already got a redesign this year in Xenoblade 2? None of that makes any sense. It's also stated new RPG project multiple times in the actual tweet. In the page itself multiple times. It says new project. They wouldn't be saying new project if it was a port. That's not a new project. So, I'm going to say this very loudly and very clearly for everyone in the back who still doesn't get it. This is a brand new title. This is not a remake or remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles 1. It might not even be a Xenoblade game at all. Signs just point towards it. Stop getting your hopes up and stop telling other people that's what it is. So beyond that, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is when we can actually expect to see this game. Thing is, this is literally them hiring people before they start pre-production. Maybe some of the scenario has been written, maybe they've done some pre-pro planning stuff already in the people who weren't working on Torna, or bug fixes or patches for Xenoblade 2 after that came out were doing that. Maybe, I don't know. They could have done that, but I'm pretty sure it's still in the very early stage of production. Xenoblade 2 took about 4 years to make, and I think that was with less people, but that was with basically the entire staff working on it after X came out for a good bit before people started splitting off to do other things. So no, don't expect to see a reveal about whatever this game is for at least a couple years. I'm pretty sure they've made some decent progress on the new IP by now, and I do expect to see that at E3 2019, but while this is probably a new Xenoblade project, don't expect to see anything besides a teaser until the end of 2020. I literally don't expect to see much from this until 2021 at the earliest, because that's just how long it takes to make these games. It's good to know that they're definitely making something new, and that it's definitely probably Xenoblade, but just don't expect to see anything out of that anytime soon. you could be hyped for whatever the new IP is, especially because we're going to be getting news of that sooner rather than later, unless something really got screwed up in the development of that. But still, this is basically confirmation that they're making it. It's not an official announcement. This is just me reading through some very obvious lines that say, yeah, we want to make this thing, so we need people to make it, and that's cool. Additionally, this is probably the last thing I'm going to say, you can tell that they're definitely trying to address the criticism that a lot of people had of Xenoblade 2 in this recruitment. What were two of the biggest complaints about it? Character designs and the UI. You know what two of the positions they were looking for were? Character designers and character artists, and UI designers. That means they're looking to have a dedicated actual art team instead of outsourcing stuff, because effectively, Saito isn't a Monolith Soft employee, so even he was technically outsourced. They might do the same thing for a main character designer, but it does look like they're trying to have an actual in-house art team, and I guess have more control over that, or just have people that they've worked with before know they can rely on. Again, UI designers, it's pretty important. So, yeah, we got a new Xenoblade in the works, and the hype cycle really hasn't started yet, and it won't until we get an official announcement, but hey, we know it's coming sometime, and I can't be happier to hear that. And so until next time, this is Luxin, signing off.